let's talk a little bit about Fast and Furious. When Paul passed, it wasn't just a loss to fans. It was personal for you, obviously. And suddenly you found yourself part of that world in a very unexpected way, the Fast and Furious world.
Yeah.
What did it feel like being thrust into that? And obviously, we're talking about stepping into Furious 7 as well, not just as an actor, but as a brother.
Yeah. It was a mixed bag of a lot of different emotions and feelings. Um, Ultimately, obviously we decided that the right thing to do was to finish the movie.
Yep.
Um, but it for at the initial thought was, is this, do we do this? Should we do this? Is this, are we going to feel good about this? How would Paul feel about this? Um, is this going to work? What are we doing here?
Right. Right.
It was weird. I ultimately what made it possible is that it was not only me, it was my brother Caleb, who's in between Paul and I, that were both asked to do this. And so we had each other to lean on the whole time, and we worked on it for over 3 months. We had to do a lot of camera work and post, work off camera too, to make it all happen, to make it all work. A lot of people don't understand is movies are not filmed in an order. It's not like page one through page, whatever we
It's
that
not, they're not linear. Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
not. And that blows a lot of people's minds. A lot of people don't understand that because, how else would it work? But they're not filmed in order. And so when Paul passed, about 70 something percent of his scenes were complete, which left us around 30% of stuff that wasn't. So yeah, so Caleb and I were tasked on doing that, and it was beautiful in the sense that Caleb and I got to spend we were literally attached to the hip for 40, 50 hours a week for weeks. And it was like a good time to heal and bond with your brother. Like we're adults at this point, you know what I
Right.
mean? You
Right.
don't That's not normal. You grow up and you got a family and you have your responsibilities, but like that became our cohesive responsibility for over 3 months, and we're still mourning the loss of our brother. And so that was really special. Things that made it more difficult too, or having to we had to watch Paul all the time on camera and how he would do things and his mannerisms and how he would say things. And so there was days where we would cry.
Yeah.
I mean, we would
Yeah.
there were days where it was really hard to get through certain things. Um, we even had to, Paul had a tattoo on his wrist here. My niece, his daughter's name, and I
Hmm.
visit his flowers. And they actually allowed Paul to keep that on in the Fast movies. They just never did a close up or whatever. Like it just kind of, he had a tattoo there. And so they had that tattoo recreated.
Oh,
So
geez.
Caleb and I had to have that tattoo on our wrist for months. They were
Mm.
these high quality temporary ones, but they would only have to touch them up every several days. And so it was easier for them just to keep them on. And so that was odd. That was odd. Um, we did grow to love them though. We grew to love them, like
Yeah.
it kind of again is this mixed bag of emotions. Is like a roller coaster of
Yep.
emotion. And I have to add, I mean, this wasn't the only reason this happened is because it was Fast, which is family. It's a cliche at this point, and there's memes about it and everything, but it is. Paul and Vin and Michelle and Tyrese, and they grew up together largely on camera on Fast. They're all forever going to be known for Fast more than anything else. Um, for most of them, and um, it just they were all so incredible and so welcoming and so supportive. I mean, here Caleb and I are going from not doing any of this type of work to on the set of a film that has a $250 million plus budget.
Mm,
I mean, you're talking about hundreds of people on set. The crew, I mean, it's like getting thrown into the lion's den. But because it wasn't just some movie Paul was doing, if it had been, that movie would have been scrapped, right? This is fast. This is a family. These are people that I've met from when I was a little kid in junior high to now I'm 25 years old, and they're familiar with me enough. I've been on set for various films over the years and visiting Paul and mingling with them, and they saw me grow up. And so here I am on set, and that was special. Just just talking, just sharing stories about somebody that you've lost is has healing properties, you know? And so
sure.
that was the positives that came from all of that. And today, I mean, here we are. We lost this November. It's crazy to say this.
It's
This
12 years.
November marks 12 years
12 years. Yeah.
Since Paul's passing.
I
And
can't,
so
yeah, I know. It's
and it's
actually
and
really
it's
difficult.
been yeah, and it's been a decade, which is it's been a decade since I worked on Fast. And I'm friends and dear friends with several of them still. Like I talk to them weekly.
Wow.
So it's really special. They're the relationships that we have, and it's all because everyone just loved Paul to death. And I look at him; he was a great example for me, um, and for a lot of people too. And so I'm grateful for that. But yeah, it was an interesting time for sure.